Okay, so I have with me today Desmond Jadu from the We Matter Party. Welcome.
Thank
And
you.
I notice you have a Jamaican background, am I correct?
Yes, both parents are from Jamaica.
Okay, where were you born?
I was born here in the United Kingdom.
Like myself.
Actually born in Birmingham as well, so there you go.
Okay, that's great. Do you go back to Jamaica often before lockdown?
Yeah, I mean, I was there last February. For the past, well, last February and the year before that, the February before that. And ironically, every time I went, I actually went round about the time of a mass deportation flight and got caught up in that. Some people have actually said to me, because I'm also chairman of the Windrush National Organization, some people have said, have you got inside information in how you turn up in Jamaica every time these deportation flights are happening? And I said, no. But yeah, I mean, I try. I mean, this year, I haven't been back yet because of obviously COVID-19.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Everybody, I have a lot of people here my side who want to go back because they live there and can't get back, you know. But,
yeah, there are people with that. I think the thing for me, when I go to Jamaica, it's 7 to 10 days at a time. And going at the moment, I just can't do 14 days quarantine or 10-day quarantine, for example, because it's going to be time to come back. And then when you come back, it's more time. So let's work this out, because it's at the same time as well, public health, both sides of the pond, is quite important, isn't it?
Very important.
Got to be sensible about it.
Yes, exactly. And you're also a minister of religion?
That's right. Yes, I'm a consecrated bishop. I'm the deputy presiding bishop for a small church assembly called Vision Temple of Praise. And my role there is to plant churches, which I started just before COVID, because obviously when you start a new church, you normally rent a building. And we started one in Walsall in the West Midlands. But sadly, that church has been closed since the first lockdown, hasn't opened back yet. And what we're looking at now is, do we go back to that assembly, or do we plant a fresh one and then reopen that one when the time is right? Because the job is planting and spreading the love of God, so that's what we do.
Okay. Did you also do online services then?
Yeah, we do online services. I just go out on Facebook Live at the moment. I think just like everyone else does.
Yeah, I find that for the church community, the online situation has just opened up their congregation.
It has. It has.
Yeah. And so
it has, but I will tell you this, it doesn't beat the face-to-face interaction.
Oh, nothing beats that.
Doesn't beat the face-to-face interaction. But in terms of reaching out with the word, it's brilliant, because I've got people now saying to me, as soon as you're back in church, let me know I'm coming. So, it's a great tool to use to spread the love of God and bring souls to the kingdom.
Exactly. Okay, that is good. Now, tell me about We Matter Party. How did it start?
I knew you were going to ask me that question.
Well, it's a standard question. If I don't ask it, they're going to say, why didn't you ask?
Myself and co-founder Charlie Williams, who's also our general secretary, we've been doing work around equality and social justice for a number of years. We've been dealing with people that suffer police brutality, dealing with matters of racial discrimination, deaths in custody, use of excessive force against people. My background is housing originally, and I suffered discrimination directly and won a case of race and disability discrimination against Birmingham City Council many years ago. And one of the things I saw there was the injustice and the level of the injustice. And I saw how a large organization would pump money in to defending themselves of wrongdoing. And what they try to do is turn the tables on you for you to view the victim and try and turn you into a perpetrator. And that in itself is wrong. The other talk to. And when I started on my journey, this particular journey 10 years ago, one of the things I found was that our community didn't have what I call effective representation,
Right.
meaning representation such on the scale like Bernie Grant, may rest in peace, because Bernie Grant was a voice for the voiceless, particularly when we talk about the whole African and Caribbean community. And what I found was, moving things on, it's as though we're always left behind. When I was growing up in the 1970s, we were one of the relevant minority communities. By the time we get to the 90s, the late 90s, early millennium, we become an irrelevance because other emerging communities are growing and we seem to be falling behind. And we said, well, anytime we mention Black, for example, it's as though we have to apologize. And I always said, why must we apologize? If we suffer discrimination, for example, then we must call it out, because the Jewish lobby do it. The Muslim community calls it out. You know, the rest of the South Asian community, the Sikhs and the Hindus call it out. But anytime we call something out, it's as though a foot goes onto our neck. And when we look at provision of housing, poverty, socio-economic issues, job progression, access to employment, it's as though the odds are weighed against us so much. But not just us. I noticed the trends in many parts of the South Asian community, for example, as well. There are people within those communities that were suffering something very similar. And also as well, and something that was quite relevant in the Tony Sewell report, the only thing that was relevant was class discrimination towards particularly working class white people.
Right.
Because you see, what happened when the Windrush generation came to this country, they were lumped in with the working class white community. But then that caused divisions between the two in any case, and hence the rise in discrimination that we suffered. The other side of the coin as well, which I considered, was this. And I'm talking now from my experience, my knowledge, my perspective. Both parents from Jamaica. So clearly we had a lot of aunts and uncles because we had to have a lot of respect. But I noticed a lot of them had manual jobs, meaning that they went to work in factories where they were closed shops. So you could not work there unless you're a member of a trade union. The trade unions were affiliated to the Labour Party. Many of them, when they came here, they loved the Labour Party, but the Labour Party actually in Jamaica is the version of the Conservative Party. It's not Labour as we know that. But they were cocooned. To work here, you must join a union. We're affiliated to the Labour Party, so you must be a Labour Party member. Now, Birmingham, where I live, 70 odd years since the influx of mass migration by the Windrush generation to rebuild this country, we are yet to have a Black, African or Caribbean MP.
In Birmingham.
Why?
In Birmingham.
We find then the division, they try to cocoon us, but use that cocoon to divide us in terms of the phrase BAME. Because right now, if I say to the Labour Party, we have no Black, and when I say Black, I mean Black, African, Caribbean.
Yeah.
We have no Black, African, Caribbean MP in Birmingham. Of course you have. You got 4 BAME MPs, which are Labour. Labour has 8 MPs out of the 10 in Birmingham. They will tell you that, yes, we've got 4 BAME MPs. So 50% of our MPs mirror image Birmingham, which is an approximate 50% BAME until we get the results of the latest census. Now, that is of concern because what you're doing is you're marginalizing our contribution and you're marginalizing our support of parties such as the Labour Party, for example.
Okay.
And then when we looked at it, we then looked at an incident which happened last year with 4 black men being beaten up by one single police officer who were currently on charges. And that highlighted yet again that we weren't getting through about the level playing field and the discrimination that our community faces. And then to top it off, we had a death in custody of a Birmingham man, but he came from just outside Birmingham, who died in a police cell in Torquay police station, which is still an ongoing investigation. And then we had the issue of George Floyd in America and the Black Lives Matter movement. And we said, right, time is right now to form We Matter. And what we said was, the ethos of We Matter is a simple one. If you matter, your mom matters, my mom matters, my children matter, my grandchildren matter, my neighbor matters, then we all matter. Because remember, one of the things we were looking at was this. At elections, at the recent elections for Police and Crime Commissioner, for example, the turnout was 31%. 69% of people remained at home. They have disenfranchised themselves as though they don't matter. And the purpose of We Matter is to say to you, you do matter. Yes, I did stand for Police and Crime Commissioner. I did come bottom of the polls, but in a 4-week campaign.
7,000 odd votes, didn't you?
Sorry?
You got 7,700.
That's right.
Votes, yeah.
Yeah, 7,748 votes, which was in a 4-week campaign, which is quite remarkable for a non-established party, no money, and we got those votes. And the good thing is, we didn't get clearly a lot of the votes were in Birmingham, most of them. However, it was split. The other just under 50% was split right across the West Midlands. So in every single local authority area in the West Midlands, we took votes in hundreds, which is quite a feat and quite important to note. So what we did on the journey of We Matter, we had some pre-launch events. We had a launch event, and then we put in our, because what we were doing was testing the water, testing the appetite. Yeah. And then we claimed, we're proud to say we are a black formed party, meaning that strangers, not family members, have come together, and we've not asked for any funding from anyone. We wanted to form this party ourselves, and we did it. We drafted our constitutions, got logos done, got everything, put it to Electoral Commission, and I think just in time for the elections, the 12th of March, we were granted party political status by the Electoral Commission. Okay. And we're proud to say within a month of that, we had candidates up. There was myself for Police and Crime Commissioner West Midlands, and there's also Huey Rose, who stood for council in Southbury Ward in Enfield. And the bottom line is this: we've made a start, we've laid out our stall, and it's time now to push ahead. So therefore, it's a simple message for people. They must realize one thing: we're here to stay, we're not going anywhere, and we're moving on to part 2. With my bishop's hat on for the moment, the Lord gave me this on New Year's Eve. He gave me visualize, prioritize, and energize. We have launched a vision of We Matter. People have now seen the vision. Now it's time for us to set our priorities, lay out that stall, get people on board, try and bring about that all-important difference. And then we're going to energize people to action, a call to action. But that call to action, we are no longer people that are going to smash shop windows in our neighborhoods, turn cars over and set them alight, because that's what's expected of us. We are going to show people how intelligent we are, how good leaders we are, how we can bring about the all-important changes. Because what this election result showed me was that people, there is a foundational cornerstone there that wants change. So, and we were told roughly, normally about Police and Crime Commission elections, about 29% turnout on the averages. It increased by just over 2%. And we can claim that 2% because we had a heck of a lot of first-time voters and people who don't go to the polls to vote. So that's a great beginning. My message to anyone out there is a simple one. Start looking at what benefits you, what benefits your street, what benefits your neighborhood. We can't be, as people, we have to stop behaving like Pavlovian puppets, because at the end of the day, Pavlov's principle of blowing the silent dog whistle and the dogs would hear it, we are conditioned. So over the years, for example, a factory hooter would go, and then people say, oh, it's time to go to work. On Sunday at 10:30, the church bell rings, telling you got 30 minutes to get to church, for example. When we went to go to school, we hear the school bell ring. And I remember when I spent just under 3 years in Jamaica, we'd fight to whose turn it is to go and ring the school bell, and it was a bell that you rang. So when we hear election, all of a sudden, we don't care who the candidates are. If you vote Labour, Conservative, you automatically go and vote.
Yeah.
But then we sit back and complain and say, well, what's the name of the person that I voted for? I can't get hold of them because the name's not Mr. Labour or Miss Labour or Mrs. Labour, and vice versa, Conservative for that matter.
Right. So
the thing about it is, and then also you get then the most dangerous members of that cohort, the ones who switch off and don't get involved at all.
Well, that was my point. I was going to say that a lot of Black people in the UK in particular are just so fed up with politics, and they just think, well, it's not going to do me any good, so it's a waste of time. Why should I vote? You know, or you can get a situation which happened last week where it is, well, you know, okay, you've got a Black man running for mayor in London, for example, but he's a Conservative. So I can't bring myself to vote for Conservative. I don't care if it is a Black man. So guess what? But I don't want to vote for the Labour person. So guess what? Not voting at all, right? Now, on that matter, you're in West Midlands, and Hugh is sort of Enfield, is it?
It's down south, is in London.
Yeah, right. So how many candidates do you need, for example, to fill the next general election?
Well, we're using what I call the stepping stone principle. Now, we've done police and crime commissioner, we've done one seat in Enfield. Moving forward, the plan is now Birmingham only has local council elections once every 4 years now since the Kerslake review. Oh. So unlike many councils where they have a proportion of seats up each year, Birmingham now has what we call all-out elections, and it's once every 4 years. They did have by-elections last week. But moving forward, we have to focus on those elections because 2022, there's no more elections in Birmingham till 2026, unless there are by-elections. We intend to put candidates in as many wards as we possibly can.
In Birmingham?
In Birmingham.
Okay.
And we are seeking volunteers for people, not volunteers, members to do that. People who want to make a difference in their community, but importantly, they have to be prepared to work. We don't want seat warmers. Forget that. Not interested. We want people who are prepared to work to make a difference, because you just made a very, very important point to me. People say, what's the point? And a 79-year-old lady in Ladywood area, Birmingham, said to me, I am not voting. You seem a decent young man, but do you know something? I've heard this too much. And we've been let down far too long, and that's the thing. We're looking as well for some seats across the West Midlands, and we will be looking at seats in London as well. For people to stand. But one of our primary focus will be Birmingham.
Okay, so how are you reaching out to the young people? Because those are the people you've got to engage.
Right. We are just in the process of appointing a coordinator who is young to talk to young people. Mm-hmm. We have our public engagement meetings, for which we have one next Thursday, which is
27th.
27th, yeah. So we've got that as well. And one of the things that we're doing is this. We are encouraging young people to join We Matter. Our party membership is £18 for anyone over the age of 18, or £1.50 a month. Importantly, young people between the ages of 11 and 18 is free. That's our investment in the youth, because we want to train them. We want to share our experiences and bring through the next generation. If I'm sitting here with all my hair white, with a nice white beard in 20 years' time, having this conversation with you, then I have failed, because I have no intention of being the leader of We Matter at that point. The baton needs to be passed on to the next generation. Don't get me wrong, if I'm sitting there and I'm the father of the party or I'm the elder of the party, then that's where I need to be. But there is no way that I intend to be here in 20 years' time having a conversation with you of this nature, simply because I would not have performed or fulfilled the task that we're here to fulfill, which is to level the playing field, break down the barriers, get the doors opened, right? And some of us will get battered and bruised at the end of the journey, but the next generation are able to pick the baton up further down the road than where we are now. And that for me will be a victory.
When you get this young person on board, will they be engaging like with the universities and those sort of institutions where the student unions, etc., in order to get the dialogue going?
Yeah, I mean, we will ensure that they are fully resourced. I've got access already. And one of the things is, although I'm much older than you and many university students, the thing about it is there's access because of all the other work that I do. And we will ensure that they go in. They have to be the face of it. Clearly, they will get backup from myself and the executive leadership team. And they would also get assistance with, you know, when they need us, we're there. So it's not a fact of appointing someone to engage young people and then we say just get on with it. We Matter is not about that. We Matter is about what even that individual who has to perform that task, they will have a level of training needs, and we have to ensure that we provide that. And even youngsters who want to become councillors or members of parliament, we have to train them. But the importance is train them how to be of service, not to be served. Now, the additional thing with We Matter is this. We're not just talking about political, being a politician in terms of a councillor or an MP. Not everyone wants to do that, but you can play your part in civic life, become a magistrate, become an independent monitoring board visitor on a prison, become a school governor, for example. We talk about educational underachievement. We talk about why are our black boys dropping out of schools, for example. Let's get on governing bodies, for example, to try and make a difference there, you know. And there are non-executive directors. You actually get paid for that. So the thing is, there are other aspects of civic life where we can get involved with and make that all important difference as well. So it's a case of redressing the balance that's there.
All right. So another question, exactly on that line. A lot of people have no idea what you're talking about here. You see this whole, no, you see this whole thing about the civic engagement.
Yeah.
Well, what's that mean? Right, it just means a town hall, right? But I know that you have regulatory boards that regulate everything. And I know when you go to those functions, you look around the room and it's a very white room.
Yep.
And they're making decisions that will affect us.
That's right.
You have no idea how you actually get onto it. So in terms of your training, are you working with the OBV, you know, Operation Black Vote, or have you got or putting in place your own training system so that you make sure people get the right information in the right way, which they can work with and use?
Our director of engagement and temporary director of membership, who's the same person, Baval Benjamin. She's been working for a long time now with the parliamentary outreach team, and she's well versed with civic engagement. I am as well through Birmingham Empowerment Forum,
Okay.
because we actually increased at one point people becoming school governors in the city, and also people applying to become magistrates. Importantly, as a part of We Matter, people who join We Matter and our public engagement meetings, we will offer that training. We will offer the programs moving forward. We will offer the support. And as leader, it is my responsibility to support them in terms of their applications and hold those appointing authorities to account if they are overlooked. Because unfortunately, in this life, at times, you do need to have that backup. And that's what we intend to provide as well. We're not looking for any favors, just a level playing field. Judge people by the content of their character, because that's what we need to do. However, do we need to redress the race imbalance? Of course we do. And that needs to be on the agenda. We're not talking about tokenism, because many of us are capable, more than capable. We're talking about giving everyone the fair crack of the whip so that they can make that all important difference. And the other thing as well that we're going to be doing is advising people from our community of the importance of jury service. Because what we find is, I find many people who get called for jury service. I'm going to try and find a way out of it. I have more people ring me up and say, Desmond, how do I get out of doing jury service than actually doing it? And I say, next time, should you ever fall foul and go to court, you'll be the first person complaining that your jury is all white.
All right. Yes.
Why you complain? You've got no right to complain if you don't want to do it. Because I've been to inquests, for example, and I've seen juries which are primarily white deliver some real favorable verdicts in death in custody cases. I'm being brutally honest with you. They have been brilliant because they've done their job. But I say to people from our community, they did their job. You do your job, do your civic duty, because you're the first one to complain. And all of this, the whole point of We Matter is to start politically, socially, economically, and civically, if there's such a word. I like to use the word civically. Engaging people into our responsibilities, because remember, we're not on a plantation anymore. We're not in the cotton fields. And as far as I'm concerned, there's no big house for us to go peer through the window. But we've got too many of these things etched in our heads. We've got too much of it etched in our heads. And what we need to do is free our mind from that. And remember this, I am as good as you are. And that's the starting blocks. And that's why We Matter. And the whole purpose of We Matter is to level that playing field. And importantly, what COVID has shown us is that we need social, economic, and political change. And we need it now. We can't wait until next year. And the other quick thing as well is this, and I'm going to be very controversial here. Last year, following the sad death of George Floyd, everyone was taking one knee. Why on earth are we taking one knee? We should be standing tall against discrimination. We must stand up. The days of Martin Luther King, he went on one knee and he prayed, right? He prayed, he rallied the troops. We shouldn't be still taking one knee 30 odd years later. We now need to stand tall and say, enough, you are not going to push us over. We are now going to take control of our destiny. And that's what We Matter is about. It's about taking control of the issues that not just we face as Black people or African Caribbean people, that many disaffected people in the Asian community face. Muslims, for example, there's a lot of Muslims who are disaffected. And also as well, the working class white people, because they do suffer some of the issues that we face as well. And one community many people forget about as well, there's the Irish community as well. Because remember, let's be fair, the great people of Ireland were lumped in this as the same category as us, when there was no blacks, no Irish, no dogs.
Yes, exactly. Let's talk about the media. is where I come in terms of Butterfly Magazine. How would you like to use the media to get your message across? Because you must agree that media, whether it be social media, television, film, or what have you, is a very powerful way of getting a message across, be it a good message or a bad message. It's a way of getting in there. So how would you like to use the media?
To be honest, I've been blessed that as we advance, my media relationships have been reasonably okay. I mean, do get good media coverage on a personal note. Sometimes when media, what we need to get the media to do, our media here, when it comes to dealing with issues that particularly surround the Black African Caribbean community, they seem to like reporting American stories more than here. And what we need to do is develop that voice within the media to let them know that injustices that people of Black people face in America, we face many of those injustices here. And sometimes it's not fashionable, but one of the things is reporting real life dramas that many people face is not fashionable from our community. What's fashionable is this: entertainment.
It is.
Great comedians, great cooks, great dancers. But when it comes down to what I call nitty gritty daily life, we need to change the narrative in our communities. Because by changing that narrative and that stereotype, we can make inroads. Gone are the days when we've not had carnivals now for a couple of years because of COVID, but gone are the days of saying, right, Black History Month, you're right, let's focus on the Black community. Whoops, what happens to the other 11 months? Now Windrush is quite topical. So let's just patronize people by saying, right, you can have events for Windrush, but where's the justice? This is what we're getting at. Where is the justice? And we want to keep the injustices on the agenda until they are remedied, and they will not be remedied until we are around the decision-making tables. Because if we look at Windrush and the media, Amelia Gentleman did great work on that. But until she wrote that story, I've been dealing with cases that we know people should have been in this country 3-4 years before. We contacted MPs, nothing. But as soon as Amelia Gentleman wrote that story in The Guardian, all of a sudden, everything exploded, and rightly so. But the facts are, at the end of the day, it's not without trying to report these things to and seek political support for it. And what it educated me was what it said to me was this: until we have strong people like Bernie Grant around decision-making tables, our issues will get overlooked. And that's the thing. And what we need to do is have fearless politicians, fearless voices that will go out there and who command that respect from the media, and have media that understands injustice. And I think many media do understand injustice. The only thing is this: at the end of the day, if we look at the American situation, injustice in America is shouted quite loudly from the rafters. Sadly, here we've become too British, a stiff upper lip. We can't do that. I was always told this: the baby who cries the loudest gets the most milk. And if you see the size of me, you'd actually know that I used to cry a lot. So the point is, media is an important tool for us to use. But one of the things is that I would love to see media do: report the good things and report the things which aren't good either. Because I saw for quite some time media criticism when Lewis Hamilton moved from the UK to Monaco. Now, he had a hard time anyway in Formula One racing. How on earth do you put someone he won the world championship, as far as I'm concerned, in his first season. Because my God, you put someone on the podium, played God Save the Queen, right? And then you took the race off him and disqualified him. That's what he had to put up with, in his first season. And he got slated for moving to Monaco. But Bono from U2, he's in the Caribbean island, live as a tax exile. Richard Branson, for example, no one criticized them. But, you know, lo and behold, poor Lewis Hamilton, well, not so poor Lewis Hamilton, moves to Monaco, he gets criticized.
But that was why I was asking the question about the media, because we know the media is called, you know, the fifth estate or the fourth estate, right? And we know the media right now. You have right-wing media, you have left wing, you have the red tops, and you know what they're going to come up
Sure.
with, the rest of it, okay. We have The Voice, like newspaper, fine, will cover some events, but at the end of the day, it's owned by the Gleaner back in Jamaica, and therefore it can do so much. My question about media is, and why I got in touch, was because I just felt that we, Matter Party, needed a media house that was akin to what you are talking about, and therefore would be able to put out the very things that you need to have put out there in the manner that you have been describing. Because I've been in media a long time, and I know that when you sit around the editorial table, it's okay, what's the best story? Okay, you know, will we get the numbers? Will we get the numbers? Will we get the advertisers?
Yeah.
Will we upset the advertisers? Because we can't put that, because we'll upset the advertisers. So therefore, there's all of those decisions going on. And then there's phone calls coming in to say, no,
Yeah.
that's wrong, what have you. Well, we, Matter Party, need not to have that. You know, if you're going to be upfront, honest, straight talking, call a spade, you're going to need a platform
Yeah.
that will enable you to do that. And that is why I got in touch. When I saw, I was kind of watching what was going on, and I thought, no, you know, it is time to come forward and say, this is a platform.
Yeah, and we appreciate that. Yeah. Look, up until this week, I've made comments in a media story, and I was told, you're being a bit harsh. And I said, the person who suffered the injustice, have you ever thought how they felt?
Mm-hmm.
Someone who suffered injustice themselves, the harsh treatment that I was subjected to try and turn me from being a victim into a perpetrator, no one showed me any sympathy, and indeed no one even showed me support. And on this journey, we have to call a spade a spade. We have to be true. We have to be real. I am from a community that has mistrust of authority, mistrust of media, mistrust of politicians. How are we going to engage our community if we can't show people the way, the truth, and the light? It goes back to our biblical principles of what we are expected to do. We are expected to show people the way. We are expected to shine lights down dark pathways. When people are in dark tunnels, we shine a light so they can follow and find their way out of that dark tunnel. We need to deal with injustice head on. And if we've not learned anything from the Windrush scandal yet, then we're not learning anything at all.
We're not learning anything.
We need to be around decision-making tables. We need to have our voices heard, and we need strong strategic leadership to tackle this. Leadership that can't be bought. Leadership that, you know, if they get a black eye, what do? The Bible tells us, right? Deliver the message. If it's not being received, get up, brush yourself off, and move on. And that's what you've got to be doing. We have to now be firm and understand what is expected of us. Because at the end of the day, we're in a serious time. We're in a serious time where our kids are killing each other. Dying at 18 is becoming fashionable. Getting a 30-year sentence is fashionable. Being unemployed and not being able to get a job is fashionable. Wanting to have Nike trainers, for example, and Versace underpants, and having your fingernails done with the latest system and wearing the latest weave in your head, having the latest smartphone, I'm not knocking anybody, is more important than having a level playing field. I'll tell you what, I'd rather have a level playing field any day of the week than anything there. Because if I know that my grandchildren, and I do have a 19-year-old granddaughter, right? I would like to know that she can apply for a job and that playing field is level for her as it is for everyone else. And the facts are, and the truth is, only in certain sectors are we still cocooned to working. All you've got to do, if you look in some industries right now, some organizations of who are the cleaners. We heard Dawn Butler say, someone said, as though she's a cleaner. I mean, thankfully to date, thankfully, and I do say thankfully to date, by God's grace, that mistake has not been made with me. But, there's still time, isn't there, for that to happen. But importantly, society still wants us to know our place, and we have to break away from that. And I am sometimes seen as a hardcore person when it comes to that. But we must remember that Jesus did turn the tables over, and we can't all the time be gentlemanly. There's not all the time that we can use grace, love, and humility. There are times when we have to raise our voices. There are times when we have to tell it how it is, and not dress it up, not put cream and syrup on it or anything like that. Let's just be cold-hearted, raw with it. Because I will tell you this, I will always live by the truth, but one thing with me, I will die by the truth. And if anyone ever wants to do something to hurt me for speaking the truth, they are welcome to do so, because the truth will never change. And that's the whole point of this. One of the things I did when I learned of Julius Garvey, when he toured the UK, Marcus Garvey's son, we toured him, myself and a couple of other colleagues. And I sat down with him I went round with him, and I found this so interesting. He's one of the top cardiovascular surgeons in the world. Marcus Garvey's son, a Jamaican. We went to 1, 2, 3 universities, I think it was, Birmingham, Manchester, and Nottingham. When you see the deans of those universities, Dr. Garvey, it is a pleasure to have you here. A man of your caliber. Note, in his own right, they respected him because the 3 deans were actual doctors. And I found it so refreshing that they were respecting this 80-year-old Jamaican for who he was. And not because he was Marcus Garvey's son, because he was one of the top cardiovascular surgeons in the world. And that for me is something that we need to savor. And it taught me something. Respect the people who are making headway for us. Let us learn off their journey. Let us embrace their journey. And that pathway that they've laid for us, let some of us walk down that pathway. Don't get me wrong, not all of us can be cardiovascular surgeons. Not all of us can be bishops. Not all of us can have PhDs or doctorates. Not all of us can be the chef in a restaurant. Right. I always say this. In a restaurant, who's the most important person? Some people say, well, the waiter, well, the chef, of course. If the chef don't cook the food, then I said, no. The actual cleaners, the people who wash the plates and clean the restaurant. They said, well, how's that? Well, if it's a dirty restaurant, the kitchen's dirty, the toilets are dirty, you can't go in there, can you? I said, actually, the answer to the question is this. Everyone has an important role to play. Don't ever play down anyone else's role, because like the body of Christ, we all have a function. And that's what's important. And that's why we formed We Matter, because we said that many other political parties, they use us, but they don't let us use our strengths. They keep us cocooned and chained. They keep us down. And I don't mind if someone comes in and shouts at me. Just make sure you're right. That's all. I don't ask for anything else. I said, if it, just make sure you're right. If you're going to shout at me, then get it right. Because do you know what? I'll listen to you. I'll take on board what you say, and I will make the adjustments. But if you're totally wrong, then I'm going to call you out and say you're totally wrong, and here's the evidence why you're wrong. But I still will not put that person to shame, because you know what? The greatest thing that person has done, they've actually stood up and said something, and that's what we need. But not just get up and say something. Get it right.
Empty barrel, because they say empty barrels make the most noise.
Yeah.
To be talking constructively, as you said right at the beginning. The party is going to be demonstrating that we are people of intelligence.
Yeah.
We have modus operandi, and this is what we're doing, and this is how we're doing it. And now is the time to listen to what we're doing, and now is the time for us to take action. This has got it right. This could go on forever, but we're not going to do that. I want to thank you.
No problem.
I want to ask the question though. When I put this out, and there'll be people from all walks of life from all over the UK who might want to get in touch with you and say, well, can they start a branch of We Matter in Leicester, in what have you? I'm sure you'll be happy to hear that.
More than happy to. And they can email me directly, desmond.jadu@wematterparty.org. And we are looking for chapters, we're calling them chapters, to be set up across the country. Okay. And one of the important things that we're looking at doing, we're looking at ensuring that each person, we're ensuring that the support is there. We're ensuring that the learnings that we have made to date are there. And importantly as well, we're looking to increase the representation of independently minded, community-driven people to represent communities, particularly those communities that are disaffected, whose voices haven't been heard for a number of years. In fact, I was in Ladywood this afternoon, one of the poorest areas in the country, despite being on the back end of the Golden Mile for Birmingham, which is Broad Street. And they'll be introducing the congestion charge. And if you imagine, we're in an area where they need food parcels, in an area where not everyone can afford to give their child a hot meal during the school holidays. And there's another area, Newtown, St. George's Estate, Newtown, which is just down the road. When we now, from the 1st of June, when we turn our Luton van into those areas to drop off food parcels, we have to pay £8. I discussed it with the leader of the council, and he said, Desmond, we get on, it's not that we don't, we couldn't just have a face-to-face conversation. Desmond, well, you'll have to get a new van. And I looked and said, hang on a minute, a new van? I said, somehow we've got to waive the £8 charge. So these little things to some people can manifest into big things for people in other areas. And this is why it's important to have those chapters, because it's not just about the general local picture. It's not just about the general national picture. It's also about that important picture that impacts upon people's lives. Because remember, it's where they live, it's their community, and importantly, they have to have a say in how their community is run. And the only way we're going to bring on the changes and get more people involved is by ensuring the mechanism is there for their voice to be heard. And that's why we all matter.
Right. This is the last question, I promise.
No problem.
Would you, how can I put this? Would you consider having a column in the magazine?
Yes. You don't need to go any further. The answer is yes. One of the things we're looking at is to get regular messaging out there. This is the key element, is getting messages out there. And I used to actually do a lot of writing, and some people said to me a few years ago, I said, I'm just swamped with work, in all honesty. I think since the elections, just to let you know, Monday and Tuesday, I'd had over 50 calls of people wanting help. That's a lot in, you know, a 48-hour period.
Yeah.
And for me, personally, the issues that we do face are quite immense. And sometimes writing, getting information out there, building stability within our communities.
Yeah.
And when I say our communities, I mean our neighborhoods, our communities generally, is absolutely crucial. And one thing I will tell you about us as well, as my parents are from Jamaica, we must remember one thing. The motto of Jamaica is out of many, one people. And when you see a Chinese man speaking patois, my granddad was from India, because my surname Jad is an Indian surname. And when you see some of my cousins whose hairs are straighter than mine, you know, when people say, oh, I've been, some people have said, no, he's a Pakistani, he's not Jamaican. And I smile and say, forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they say.
No.
And the thing is, they forget themselves. We got people of Chinese appearance who are Jamaica, who are not Chinese, that arrived there last week.
Yeah.
Chinese family who have been there for a couple of 100 years. Indian families who have been there for a couple of 100 years, but don't you dare call them Indian or Chinese. They're Jamaican.
I know.
When you see,
I live there. I know.
when you see a white guy with freckles and ginger hair walking into a roti shop in Malines Road in Kingston, and I remember this, and he said, and Bermuda shorts and a khaki bush jacket, and he said, yo, baby, give me some roti and curry and a red stripe. And that's how he said it.
Yeah.
And some people would probably faint.
Yeah.
But we must remember, Jamaica is one of the countries that accepts people for who they are.
Mhm.
And many people don't get that.
No.
Is there still a little bit of a colonial mindset? In parts, of course there is. But that's all over the world. That's just not exclusive to there. But the point I'm making, we are champions of diversity. We know how to live diversity. And there are people in government, in local authorities, in right across the United Kingdom that could learn a lot of us.
I was going to also say that there is a possibility also that you have the We at a party, and the magazine goes to Jamaica, Happy in Jamaica is in need of another party. Without a doubt, you might get people there saying, well, can we have a section over there, because we need to have that. But I'm sure what you're saying is, well, you have the stepping stone principle.
Yes, the stepping stone principles there. Because remember, we have to prove ourselves.
That's right. That is
no matter. Remember, we're dealing.
Is the essence of it.
Yeah, we're in an industry where there is mass mistrust, and I do say an industry because sadly we do have career politicians, but we are in a situation where there is mistrust. And and I will tell you this, as men, there is much people who love me. There are some people who dislike me from our own community, because sometimes they say he's too loud, he's too this, that, and the other, he's not ready. Then I would just say this to them: what do you call ready? Someone who's doing nothing at all? But do you know what? I give God thanks for that, for one reason. If I was doing nothing, then no one would ever have anything to say.
No, they say you're worthless and you don't, you're not doing anything. Why aren't you doing something? You could do something. So you can't
That's
win.
right.
You can't win either way. So that and that really goes into like the crabs in a barrel sort of syndrome.
Yeah.
Where I'm just
You've got to be thick-skinned. To do
Yeah.
this, you have to be thick-skinned. I mean, I think, and you need to have a good family around you. I think there are a lot of times when my children get fed up. My wife sometimes gets annoyed with me. you know, but we are a strong family.
Important.
But there are times when family life becomes strained because, you know, my son or one of my sons or the girls might say, listen, you know, my daughter now who doesn't live in Birmingham anymore, I heard her on the phone to her mum the other day and she said, it looks like every time I got to talk to my dad now, I've got to book an appointment with him. It's not good enough. But then I heard what she said. A couple of days later, I spoke to her and said, you will never have to book an appointment with me. All you have to do is pick the phone up and ring me. I said, you know your dad by now. I'm not one for small talk. So I'm not going to ring you for a chin wag because you know that's not me. She says, I know, I was just annoyed, Dad, really, in all honesty, because something happened and I thought you would have just asked me how I am. And I said, do you know what? I'm going to turn it on its head. I told you, when you need me, you call me. And the day I don't answer you, that's the day to have a go. The reason I'm sharing that is that's the type of sacrifice when you're doing this you have to make. Indeed, when Martin Luther King died, his children didn't want him to take that trip. They were very clingy because I heard, you know, what his son had to say. They just didn't want him to go nowhere. And he never returned. And, you know, we have to, when people are being critical at times, they must understand the sacrifice that many of us make. And we make those sacrifices for the best and with the best of intentions. And many people say sometimes, well, what's in it for them? Do you know something? Stop that talk. Think about globally what's in it for all of us. And if we can level that playing field, and if we can ensure that we have more Julius Garveys, if we can make sure that we have more Nelson Mandelas, more Marcus Garveys, more Muhammad Ali's. Remember, Muhammad Ali wasn't just a boxer, he was a champion for equality, right? More Lewis Hamiltons. And I'm not talking about the taking of one knee. I'm not talking about the driving. I'm talking about the passion to succeed despite all the odds. You see, a lot of times we celebrate what's in front of us, but we must also look and celebrate what's behind. Because do you know something? It would have been easy for him to give up. 6-time world champion now. This year, I'm fairly certain by God's grace, and I pray to God, he becomes 7. Because do you know what? He would have blasted every single critic that he had. Yeah. And going back to We Matter, I was told I was a fool standing for police and crime commissioner. I was told that I will damage my credibility for standing because I don't stand a chance. Well, I will tell you this. I did put my personal credibility on the line because you've got to practice what you preach. Because if I'm going to ask someone to stand, then it's only clear that I stand and I put my neck on the line. Mm-hmm. Thanks to who Desmond Jadu is and We Matter, we pulled 7,746 votes. The important point is this. They were not for the party per se. It was a joint thing. I bet you any money, if every candidate on there, apart from Julie Hambleton for Justice for the 21, every other candidate put just their name on there, how many votes would they have got?
You know.
And that's the thing. Right. And what We Matter wants to bring is to say to people, the odds may be against you, but remember this, we may well just come over the odds. And I'll relate it back to the Bible. Joshua, the mighty warrior, was told to march around the walls of Jericho for 7 days and they'll come tumbling down. And he said, nah, I ain't doing that. Nah. You're mad. You know, I'm going to look like a nutter marching around for 7 days. And he was encouraged. You need to do this. And when he became obedient to the word of God, what happened on day 7?
The walls came tumbling down.
Gideon, the dry fleece, the wet fleece. Then what did Gideon do? Please slim your army down. You don't need such a big army. But they were going to outnumber us. But he was compliant, and what happened? He won the victory. We look at David, we look at Moses, we look at Joseph. You know, we look at Nehemiah. The odds are against you, but you can succeed if you are compliant and you put your mind at the right place to succeed. And I will tell you this now, this is a special moment of change in our communities. And when I say our communities, I mean all of our communities. The 69% that did not go out and vote at the last Police and Crime Commission elections, you now have a reason to go out and vote. And if we can increase voter registration and voter turnout, which I'm sure here at We Matter, we will do that, we could be poised for a very special victory that many people will have to stand up and take notice of.
I know you're a busy man. So in terms of writing the column, when could that start? So that I can program it.
We could start that next week.
Right.
Just tell me how many words you need, we'll get it done.
It's a column, so not more than 800.
Not more than 800. Fine.
Yeah.
We'll do that. We can do a column weekly. We'll pick out an issue. Right now, just to let you know, I'm shadowing things like the Dalian Atkinson case,
Okay.
actively with West Mercia Police and family representatives. From a community perspective, we've got that going on. There's varying other things that we're involved in. Obviously, we're monitoring policing. There's a police officer on charges at the moment for assault on 4 Black people as well. When you come back, and there's varying other things that we're involved in. But importantly as well, we want to be rallying people to register to vote, to use their vote, give them that purpose as well, and let them know, no matter who wants to trivialize the issues they have, there is now machinery here to be that all-important voice as well.
Okay, and to sum it up, the point you were making about the civil societies and that, I think that's a very key thing, that you can just sort of choose one a week or something and just say, would you like one of these, and this is what's involved, just to get people thinking.
That's the whole thing. Everything that I've done over the years has been thought-provoking, and that's one thing I've built up a reputation on. It's like when I go out and speak, and even the leader of the council is quite funny. They don't like speaking after me. Because when because the problem is, they haven't got a problem with me. They say, Desmond, you're making it too difficult. How do I go in and do that? You know, I said, I don't know. Well, I said, next time I'll speak after you. It's not a problem. Because the thing about it, it is very thought-provoking. And the thing about it is, you know, sometimes, you know, I think I don't do dry, so it don't work.
Right. Well, I also say, because we are a digital magazine, because we have a strong social media presence as well, if you wanted to just do a very short video, just do a video where you're just talking about something, because we have a demographic where we've got 18 to 25-year-olds who are our main readers, but they don't read. They TikTok and all of that. So if it's something that's visual that you are saying, we
can write it and do like a 90-second video or something.
And at the same time, we've got the 50 to 65-year-olds who read, so they like to read the thing.
Sure.
So we have to try and make sure we give the information in the way that
Birmingham Live. I have a decent relationship with Birmingham Live, actually, and one of the things they do is sometimes when they're doing stories, they actually video. And there's like a 90-second video, and then there's a story as well. And that 90-second video just gives the gist of the story. But what it then does, it's enough to actually entice the person into reading the article.
Right, exactly. So however you want to do it, that would be great. And Ryan, you must have been, because you said you were in the West Indian World. Do you remember West Indian World newspaper?
I don't actually.
No, that was the first Black newspaper.
Oh!
First ever Black newspaper.
Right, okay. I thought it was the Gleaner.
Oh gosh, no. And it wasn't The Voice. It's people.
I know it wasn't The Voice.
Yeah, the people who sort of, this is in England.
Oh, in England?
West Indian World in England.
Right, okay, yeah.
1975, 76.
Oh, right, I'm with you, yeah, in England, yeah. Because I know it wasn't, The only reason I thought it was a Gleaner, because I remember my mum was offered back in the 60s a job to be the European correspondent for the Gleaner. And
Well, the Gleaner would have been coming out, and they used to come out on Wednesdays or something like that. But West Indian World was for the Black community in England, and
Yeah.
I'm only talking that because that's where I started. That's where I started, and it was a campaigning newspaper, and it campaigned on behalf of the Black community. And if anything was going on, we were there. We were there, and we were very vocal. So that was that. All right, my love. It has been really, really, really good.
it has, and I've got your email address. If you just want to drop me your details, directly.
Oh,
So you
okay.
know, like you've emailed Muku.
Yes.
If you just email me, but it's Desmond.Jadoo, JADDOO @wematterparty.org.
Okay.
And just make a note of my number. It's quite easier to do that as well. As you got, I can see you got a pen. 07946
07946
37
37
45
45
77.
77. Right, that's 07946 3745 77.
Yep.
Right, okay. On Monday at 9 a.m. I will be interviewing Val. Okay, and my intention is to be able to interview everybody, all of your,
No problem at all.
right?
Just the article. If I say next week, what will the deadline be?
The latest I have to get it is Tuesday. Absolutely.
Tuesday.
Yeah, because I have the magazine is produced.
Oh well, you're doing this one Tuesday for next week.
What we've done now.
Yeah. So for the column, then it will be the following Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
No, for the column, because all right, so you've got more time. It should be Monday. Monday by midday.
Right. So therefore, then, so for the column, not this Monday, the following Monday. That's fine.
Yeah,
So I know every Monday morning, excluding this Monday, something comes to you. That's great.
Brilliant.
No problem at all.
With the videos and any pictures.
Yep.
And we're good to go. All right. So
Thanks very much.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a blessed weekend, and God bless. Thank you.
God bless you. Take care.
Bye-bye.